February 3rd. I'd like to begin by verifying that the meeting has been properly posted.
Yes.
Thank you. Our first item of business tonight, and let me also acknowledge that Mrs. Kozlowski is excused for this evening. First item of business is approval of the teaching and learning minutes from the January 6th meeting.
I move approval of the minutes as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Mrs. Koenig. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. We have an opportunity for public comment. Has anyone signed up to speak this evening?
No.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move right into three special topics for this evening. Our first one is an update on the middle school schedule, which is a follow-up from January. Mrs. Gennerman.
Good evening. So just give me 1 second to get this going. But we do have three short items for tonight, all really positive that we'll be sharing. I'm really proud of our team's work for tonight to share, just like every other week. So first we're going to start out just sharing an update about the middle school schedule since just 1 month ago, really. That we had conversation about that, and then also full board discussion around the schedule and the details around that. So since then, we had an opportunity to deploy our communication plan. So we had communication going to staff, families, and students. Here you see the student page. We had an opportunity to revise the class choice sheets so that it aligned with all of the changes that we made. So these were some of the next steps that we laid out, and so we were able to do that right away and have accomplished that. The other thing that our team has worked really hard on is pulling together all of the course information like we had discussed and making some changes and a few revisions to the middle school course catalog and then making that available to families, staff, and students. Once this was complete, we also had some internal meetings, ensuring that we're meeting with the school counselors. They have all the information that they need, along with communication with music teachers and elementary principals around fifth grade selections. This information is on the website as it is every year, along with our high school course catalog and then the course selection sheets. Here's just an example of the sixth grade elective work. As I referenced, we had discussed taking those single classes and merging them into an experience. And so that's what you see here in the catalog that the team has worked on. We still have yet to create those course outlines and add more specific detail, but we have a great outline or summary of what the course will be moving forward for those courses, and again, following that pattern of the every other day courses. Here's an example of the 8th grade elective work that we have done because the foreign language component will be 1 year. It will have like French or Spanish 1. It will take longer. What we did is we allowed for students currently that are in French or Spanish 1 and are going to 8th grade for them to continue into French or Spanish 2, but also adapting for the change as we move forward with other grades. And again, this is the course sheet sample that was revised this year based on the few adjustments we had made to 8th grade. All that going out and the communication to families, staff, and students. We also started to work with technology and started to revise Infinite Campus for the new schedule. Laura Ryan's been instrumental in helping us align with things in Infinite Campus to align with some things that are in place at the high school, just making some connections there. So this is still a work in progress and we'll continue to meet regularly and deploy communication, but we did want to just stress that what we've done so far and then let you know that we continue with these next steps of planning for Summer Institute, teacher professional development, and more outline pieces for the courses. I'll open up for questions, but it was really just a summary.
I have maybe it's a clarifying question in terms of the core curriculum not the elective curriculum. Is there anything new that comes into the PD side? So we're all caught up on that, which is great. So the Summer Institute work will be on the new schedule, the consolidation, the elective strategies, anything else?
Yes, another component that we're talking about tonight.
Okay,
Um,
yeah,
So,
yeah, okay. I guess that's one of the advantages of having that standardized curriculum and being on the cycles that we're on, so it's great to hear. Mr. Zenobia.
I just wanted to make a comment that appreciate the presentation. It looks great. I know how much work went into this. And there were several presentations to us at the board, but so much went on behind the scenes and a lot of questions, but to see it all come together in this format, it looks really good. And thanks and to those that put a lot of work into this. So looks great. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any further questions. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next topic, which is a curriculum review process update.
yeah, so Melissa Yao and Laura Ryan will join me for this. It's hard to imagine, but a year ago, we were here sharing with you just some of the work we were doing in our curriculum review process. If you're newer to the board, you still have experienced many of our curriculum adoptions. And so since last year when we gave an update, we've been working on our process with our directors and coordinators and just learning more and just want to do some enhancements and share those with you tonight. As you know, we've adopted many curriculum resources, iReady for kindergarten through 5th grade for math, and then benchmark literacy being one of the recent larger ones. Last year when I was here, I did share really the story of how years ago when we had a textbook, you saw someone else's name and you wrote your name, and now fast forward to now that we have digital subscriptions that really end, for however long that we are purchasing. So that really does change the landscape of curriculum adoption and resources. Also at that time, I think it was the committee meeting, Darren, the chief financial officer had came, just because we also talked about our financial plan in moving forward to ensure that we can adopt such large curriculum adoptions. And so that was a highlight too. So since then, what we've been working on is our curriculum review process. And I had shared that we had outlined, the first part being plan, the next part being research and select, the next part being update our guaranteed viable curriculum, and then implement. We've had something in place, but coming to this point last year, we felt that we could minimize and simplify the number of steps. And so our team's going to share a little bit more detail about just the process itself and give some examples.
So just to start to back up a little bit, is because of our effective, like Jen was saying, of our effective adoption of new curricular resources over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, our process really warranted adjustment a little bit. So we would have a different workflow for different needs. So for example, when we were starting from scratch and had nothing, we needed a much larger long-term workflow to really research and find something that would serve us best. Now we have some really good resources that have been working well for us, and we just need a renewal process because we already know that they're working for us. We want to stick with them. Or when we have AP, that would be a different process. So when you look at something like this, this is really the steps. I'll give an example of our AP curriculum. The last 2 years, we've really been looking at our AP curriculum and seeing how very old many of our curricular resources were, if we had them, or how major changes had happened in the AP from College Board that really necessitated for us to make a change. This year, so last year we pre-planned for this year, we have a few remaining AP courses. So we planned for that and budgeted for that last year. So this year we're in the plan state. Our coordinators of those courses, right now there's one going on in science, in math, and in social studies, have really been, from the beginning of this year, completing a current state analysis. Where are we? Do we need a new resource? What changes have been made in the AP curriculum? And then they have been researching and reviewing a couple different resources. Some of them are ones that we have in some other areas that are working well, so might be a new one. So you will be hearing from us in the very near future about what they are recommending. We are hoping to get those. Many of those resources aren't published yet. They keep saying, oh, February, oh, March. So as soon as we get those resources, we will get them to you, and then we will come to the board with a presentation. And then over the summer, really adjust, fine-tune, I guess, the College Board framework to our curriculum and the curricular resource that is adopted. So that's an AP example. Melissa can give a completely different example.
So I'm going to go with an example that y'all are familiar with, so benchmark, but I'm going to take you through what we did with benchmark and how we kind of use that process to help us update and improve what we are doing. So when it came to literacy, we were about 2.5 years ago, we were in that pre-planning stage. We thought that we had a whole nother year that we were going to be looking at reading because we were in our first year of adoption of math. And then Act 20 came up. And so we felt that we needed to move even quicker to make sure that we were going to be in line with the law coming out. So we then moved to planning. We did our research, went and looked at what are other districts using, what's the research out there around different programs and practices that need to be present in a resource that we would be looking at, because we currently at the time had what we consider a homegrown resource. So we didn't have, a textbook, a teacher edition for teachers all to be working from. And so we knew that we wanted that going forward. And so we had a district team that looked at 8 different resources with a rubric. That's in that research time. And then we narrowed it down from all of that research down to 3. And that's where we brought in teachers to be able to use a rubric and evaluate the 3 resources. We also came to the board and shared what our process was, what we were looking at. Then it came down from what the teachers suggested in all of our research, going and visiting schools who were using those resources, and decided on benchmarks. So that was that select piece where we came back to the board, and then we're grateful for the support that we received. And then we moved forward into implement. We also received your support in being able to do some early adopter and pay some teachers in the summer. We had great response from our elementary team, who were always so gung-ho and just great learner mindset, and took that opportunity to learn early. We also offered opportunities for, if it didn't work out with people, to have at Summer Institute that same learning. And then we worked with principals and coaches to make sure that our professional development was aligned from building to building. And we have seen great results in student engagement and data starting to trend in the way that we want it through that connected, viable curriculum, and buildings really working together to make sure that we have high rigor for all. And so now we're in our second year, same thing, continuing with ongoing professional development with team meeting PLCs, where teachers are really looking at that data and being able to respond to students.
I would highlight too that each of their examples is really showing the need of different pathways. For example, at one point in time, I think everyone believed it was the best next step to do 3 pilots for this long, and then you narrow it down to 1. And in this digital age, every time you do a pilot, you can't just halfway connect your student information to the system. it's all or nothing. And so that was one of the pieces that, given the time frame, Melissa really looked at, do we need to pilot, or how can we get input and feedback? And this way, there was a lot more teachers, special ed teachers in and out that night providing feedback on the resource throughout. And so people weren't just locked in of, we have to pilot and then we have to do this. So allowing us to share the information when it's ready, but having those multiple pathways for these different situations when we have some information or a pilot is maybe not the best next step.
Any questions for us?
So we've done a lot of this in the last few years. Like, we've exhausted things, right? Now we're kind of moving into the APs and some of the electives that we've been talking about. The process has always kind of been there guiding us in the background, but the formalization of that process has been really important.
It has. We didn't, when I came into my role, we didn't have a curricular design process. So I'm starting to realize that I've been here a while, and it was time to even update that, because we've learned through going through it with you all that there were some blind spots that we didn't see, or seeing that we did need to have some different tracks. So
I think what's really valuable about looking at this in a stepwise way is, as a board, we have a statutory obligation to approve not just the curricular resource, but the whole curriculum. And so this iterative approach is, obviously we're gonna rely on the expertise of the professional communities and preferences, and understanding how even it applies to technology, right? Because this idea of just getting a stack of textbooks delivered isn't quite what it used to be. And so at every one of these stages, essentially, there's a way that we check in. And so there's no longer like a minimum requirement of you must do this many or you must do for this long. But there was a period of time where we were doing multiple pilots simultaneously with the same groups of students, which was just overwhelming. So
Yes.
now we have this structure that allows us to kind of interleave these pieces together, which I think serves the students and the teachers better. So it's not really a question, but I guess, here, the question is more, what is the feedback from the classroom teachers who are so deeply involved in this process in terms of how we're going about it now compared to maybe what we were having them go through in the past?
really good feedback, because one of the things that can be a problem, not with all pilots, so we still might choose to do a pilot where we, do a unit in the classroom, but some of the things that you can run into, and why we have that planning piece and research piece, is we have to look at the companies and talk with the companies. It's becoming more common that there is a large charge sometimes for piloting. And so we just don't want a small sampling. We want to make sure that we're looking at, multiple avenues, such as our dual language program, monolingual program, special education. Another thing that can happen is some companies sometimes have a unit that they use as their pilot. Well, that won't always work if maybe we've already taught that unit, and then we don't want kids don't need to go through that unit again or do the same unit from two different companies. So it doesn't always work in the best interest of our students. And so to have some other ways that you can look and consider to get input from families, students, and teachers, they have appreciated that opportunity.
I would add to that too, is I think our teachers are valuing the time that they get to really dig into the resources now, where before it was rush and do a pilot for this one, rush and do a pilot for this one, rush and do a pilot, and they didn't get to really dig into it or learn it. As I feel like they're learning it better. And the only feedback we were getting from students was about the technology or about how the platform worked. It didn't give them enough time to learn the platform, or we had technology issues. So it really wasn't about, the content or the curriculum. It was much more about the platform and the technology. So we don't have that to troubleshoot now.
I would just also add that overall, I think it's a win-win for everyone. This continues to give us a structure to work from, allows for no guessing game. You'll get the information. As always, we'll provide updates. We'll come to the board meetings. We've been working behind the scenes for each of these steps to have a consistent slide deck or communication, like having all the tools ready. The team's done an amazing job of just organizing all that so that anyone can step in the role and with a partnership with anyone on our teaching and learning team, walk through the process and really know what to do and what their next step is. And so it gives you consistency as well as us. And then teachers are always eager to engage in the process, so it's really win-win.
This may be more of a loaded question, or one to think about, but beyond the implementation phase and above and beyond our standardized testing, how do we verify that what we've purchased and implemented, obviously we have to give it cycles, but outside of the standardized testing, how do we verify?
Yeah, so we do calibration walks, so that happens on multiple levels, principal and coach, coach and coaches, coordinators, directors, together, teachers going into each other's classroom and using common tools where we're watching to see what are those instructional practices happening and how are the students responding to that, and then verifying that with the data. So that happens at elementary and happens at secondary too.
Yeah, similar. We do learning walks across the district at both middle school and high school, and we really look to see how teachers are using the platforms first. It's amazing this year how common it's been, no matter what middle school or high school we're in, that we're seeing a lot of the common sources, or common activities and common readings. And beyond that, what are part of the curriculum design, at the end of every unit, let's say it's English 9 or Integrated 1, they have a common summative. All of those summatives are now labeled the exact same way. It's controlled really by the district, not so much by the individual teacher in Infinite Campus. So they're named the same way, so we can pull the data and we can see how our kids are doing across. So that's more of a, not such a lag measure, but more of a lead measure that we can see how they're doing.
I would add too that in the planning phase, the team does a current state analysis, which is a very in-depth overview of data trends, just to help guide our path of what is the best next step for us.
Mrs. Koenig?
Thank you. This is like a dream come true, just watching what has taken place over the last 3 to 4 years. I just want to thank our staff, our administration for making this happen, for the board for supporting these changes. This was so needed, and I'm so jealous that I don't get to be in the classroom taking part, and I just think back to how different it was when I was there and how I would have loved as a teacher to be able to take an advantage of all of these resources, the curriculums that we put into place, just the sequential, pathways, just everything. I am just so happy to see this happen, and thank you to everyone who's been a part of this. This has been amazing to watch. I'm very proud of it all.
I mean, what you're describing in terms of what I would call quality and fidelity audits in practice
Yes.
are things that we just can't do when there's self-curated content, and it really is, it's just reassuring to know that the students everywhere in the district are having access to the same great curriculum and that there's quality controls in place, and feels really good about that.
Yeah, that's great. I would be remiss too if I didn't just give a shout out to 3 of our coordinators who have gone through the process as well, who helped with this revision. So Leslie Waltz, our secondary math coordinator, Erica Yass, our K-12 science coordinator, and then Emily Freeman, who is our elementary literacy coordinator. So the 3 of them were great partners in this as well. So they get a lot of the credit for helping make things better.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. Our last topic for tonight is a good one.
Yes.
Data systems enhancements. Welcome, Jamie.
There is a little bit of a theme to our presentations tonight. It's really about follow through. What is the process? How do we know what's working? So we want to take a moment to just provide you an update and let you know where we're at as far as data system enhancements. I really like teaching and learning, but you know I love this data stuff and data systems. So I'll stay on track and stay focused, but it is also another exciting piece. So Jamie Heinzel is here to share our journey with us and share with you some of our next steps. So like we said, we want to just provide an update. About 3 years ago, as I joined the team and working with our colleagues, we looked around and wanted to really analyze what systems we have. Of course, we had Infinite Campus as our student information system. That really is all of our student records. We also, at the time, had Oasis or Big Ideas, that's a curriculum, Go Ideas, and that is a platform that we had used for special education for IEP forms. We had at that time Qualtrics. There's a variety of things that can be used for survey, dashboards. At that time, we were trying to use it for a multi-system of support, identifying students and tracking their progress. And then throughout the time, we've also had Wise-Local. I want to take a moment just to explain that Wise- has many levels. And so the first level is Wise-Public. That's what everybody has and can go on, and you can't get discrete data. The next level is Wise-Secure, and that is for the district itself. That's where there's a secure release. That's where we get that through there, or specific information that is not for the public that we can look at. Sometimes it's just a bit more confidential. And then there's another level that is Wise-Local that we've had. This is a data visualization tool to help us, present data for the board, administrators, and educators throughout our system. But I do want to identify that there's 3 different levels. The Wise-Local is a piece that we'll focus on a little bit more tonight. That is more of the paid piece rather than the provided by the state. With each system, we are required to connect our student information system, and really that partnership with technology. We have multiple options for this, but it can be an overnight sync. It could also be a manual upload annually when the data is done, and over time those processes and process have changed. We also have to work through that workflow and data validation process of any assessment systems that we are connecting. And really another part of every system, we require that professional development and ongoing user support. As you know, so many times things are updated, whether you like it or not. And so we have to adjust and navigate through that. And so we always have to plan for that ongoing professional development and user support, no matter what system. So one of the questions we've always asked ourselves is, how do we know our systems are working well? And everyone can say, well, they like this feature, or they like this, or they'd like to see it differently. One of the things that our team has really connected with over time is the continuous improvement criteria rubric. We've used some of this for overall strategic planning, but more so the continuous improvement piece around system readiness. This is unique, and each district, while we're all on a data journey, we all have to reflect on where we are at readiness at any given time with any different system. So here I just outline the different components of readiness. They're labeled with the R1, which is shared mission and vision, R2, shared values, R3, which is stakeholders and meetings, how are we running those, R4, our collaboration process, and then R5 is meetings are purposeful, and then R6 is really focused on our communication structures. And then R7, one that we often refer back to for most of our work, is all around systems and the process to use data. And so in each of those readiness elements, there's a rubric of we're starting at beginning, we go to developing, accomplish, and exemplary. And we always are striving for exemplary. And so here's just some key words of that exemplary piece that we've talked with our team about many times. So one of the pieces is the team has access to a data system that allows real-time analysis and maintains data privacy. Another one is the team has organized and systematic approach to use the data for meaningful analysis. Data analysis includes a focus on students who have not yet benefited from the educator practice. And so these are some pieces that it really stresses how important it is to have our systems aligned and connected, and we're always looking to see how we can improve. In the recent years, just like with curriculum, we've taken some really big steps forward. And while I'm speaking to these right now, there are so many people behind the scenes that have shared in this work and these accomplishments. So going back a few years ago, we changed from using Go Ideas for our IEPs to using Infinite Campus. And so that reduced a system. We had shared that out at Student Services at that time. We also have provided access to intervention plans within Infinite Campus rather than a different system with Qualtrics. We've adjusted our systems for all assessments whenever they have changed. So back in the day, we had the Badger exam for 1 year, and then we went to Forward. And we also had Aspire, and then we went to Pre-ACT. So every time there's a change in the testing and in the norms, we have to recalibrate our connection, our process, how we're reporting out. Throughout the time, we've revised our dashboards in Wise-Local for our KPIs and student data so that the board has access, our district leaders, as well as school level counselors and down to that school level. Like I referenced before, every time norms change, we've adjusted. And we also have had an assessment webpage that has been built and is really a one-stop shop for all communication at any time, not just when the assessment communication goes out. We have enhanced our strategic planning process to incorporate alignment between the district and schools. This has been vital to all of our success as we move forward and look at student outcomes. And as Melissa referenced earlier, we've been working on Act 20 even before it came as far as the science of reading, but with Act 20 brought necessary access to student information and processes that our educators and parents, could see. As we were learning Act 20 and adjusting to Act 20, we were trying to build the plane while flying it. No one had a system set up for it. And us being a large district, a lot of people want to say, we'll partner with you and build this. And, we have to think about capacity. And so we have to think about capacity for all these things and just, is it meeting our needs to be at that exemplary level? And so currently we have Infinite Campus, Qualtrics, Wise-Local, and we removed the one system for the special education. Wise-Local, while I explained those tiers of access with Wise-Local, Wise-Local is a consortium. It is not a third-party vendor. And so the consortium, people pay in, and it's led by educators. And so what happens is, let's say it's us and 30 other districts that are in this consortium. The dashboard is built to meet everyone's needs, but there's limitations as far as what we can do in individualizing that. And as every system enhances, we're looking for something that can do it all and does communication and does this and does that. And so in recent years, we really have felt that we need to take some steps in a process to really look at our tool, Wise-Local. And give it an honest look and go back to is this helping us to be exemplary in the data process and use of data? So Jamie's going to talk about the process and then where we're at now.
Yeah, so one of the things that we did is, in order to make sure that the data tool that we're using was exemplary, we engaged our staff in a process to look at what tools are currently out there. So one of the first things that we did is we gathered feedback and input from relevant stakeholders across the system. So you can see here, these were the themes that emerge quite often as far as what people were looking for in a data management tool. So centralization and integration. So we want a tool like what this one is really referring to is what Jen mentioned, is that one-stop shop. So is there a place that we could go that offers the things that we're looking to do with our data? We don't have to keep going to different types of resources to find those. Now, we knew that was a little bit of a tall order to find something that does it all. Typically, that's pretty virtually impossible to like find something that is that one-stop shop. However, I think we got pretty close, so I'll share that in a minute. The other thing that kept emerging was the user experience. So people wanted a data system, a tool that was easily accessible to them. So I can, if I'm not an expert with data, I can get into the system and I can still read the graphs, I can read the data. It helps me make decisions about my students who are in front of me. So that's really what that one is getting at. We wanted a tool that had some quality to it and was reliable, right? So we can trust the data that's in there, and we know that it's providing us with accurate information and quick information too. And then we also wanted a tool that looked at helping us to analyze and report out on some of those big things that we want to know about, right? Student achievement, also behavioral data, attendance, truancy. And again, when we think about what should a data management tool do, it should really be providing us with data that can help us identify students who need help early on. And then also, right, give us information about how are our systems, how are our programs, how are our interventions doing, how are our students responding to what we're providing to them in the system. So we wanted all of those things, as well as some advanced functionality. So looking at, is there some integration of maybe some AI that's out there that can kind of help us with some of that analysis as well too. So these, like I said, were the emerging themes when we asked people across our system, what is it that we're looking for in a data tool? So what we did from here is we established a rubric. So we scored using this rubric based on all of these things that we were looking at. So we had some vendors come in, share their tool with us, and then we ranked them using this rubric as a group. And then again, we engaged in that research and select. Pretty unanimously, our group voted on one data management tool, and like I mentioned, we were hopeful we were going to find a one-stop shop, and like I mentioned, we got pretty close. So as we're learning more about NextPath, it does offer us a lot of things that we are looking for, or that we set out to seek here from the feedback as far as that one-stop shop. So I've listed a few things on here that NextPath does offer us. So overall, this tool will help support our multi-level system of support in both the areas of academics and behavior. So it's a very intuitive platform. And again, right, the purpose of having a data management tool is to help us easily, quickly understand our student data. This data management tool prevents a clear view of student achievement. We can see progress. We can get information as far as like a response to intervention for a student. So we have, through this tool, there's data dashboards, so we can see data at a bigger level, and then we can also funnel down to the student profile level. So it's easy to pull up to see what kind of supports does a student have by looking at that student profile. And then it also offers us that school lens, so we can quickly see which kids have mastered standards, which ones need some extra support, which ones need enrichment. So it offers all of us, and again, right, so we can make those good decisions about what our students need who are in front of us. This tool also has tools to communicate progress with families. So that was also a very exciting feature for us. So it does allow families to either like acknowledge like a reading plan. So this was a big one for us when we looked at all of the requirements of like Act 20. So NextPath has a lot of features that allows us to build reading plans within the system and then easily communicate that information with our families. So really as we engaged in the research process to look at a tool, like I said, I'm pretty excited that we have found this tool. And the more, like I said, that we're digging in and learning about it, it has some great potential to keep advancing our system and building that multi-level system of support.
With this piece, I do want to share, just clarifying that we'll continue to use our student information system of Infinite Campus. NextPath would replace our use of Wise-Local, which is something we've had for pretty long in our district. The team, with Jamie's guidance and all of teaching and learning, have spent time putting together a great implementation plan where all different groups are getting trained, really starting March this year, and then so that we want teachers in just a few clicks in August to be able to see student information. So before the students come into the classroom, if I'm a fifth grade teacher, you're my partner, we can look at how did our students do last year. So the team is really working very hard to get that in place, and we have a great implementation plan to support and get us there, to just help move us forward. But I'm sure we want to discuss and have questions, so.
I'm sure. Okay. I'm looking around for some questions. Who is building the dashboards?
So currently, I am building the dashboards with my assistant.
Okay. And so for Wise-Local, I know there were some board members that were pretty heavily relying on those filters. Is there a board dashboard portal similar to what we had in Wise-Local that will become available?
So this one is a little bit different than Wise-Local. So it doesn't quite have that, that dashboard, but I know we have some other tools that allows us to get that information for board members.
Some of the just basic building information was extremely valuable. I mean, those would be, I think, the more straightforward things. It sounds like the behavior referrals and things will also go here. Yeah, I have more questions, but I'll defer to others. Oh, Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, I think the teacher piece and being able, as Jen mentioned, being able to just in a couple of clicks be able to have all this data neatly organized on your students going into the new school year is huge, especially when we're going to have a bunch of students who are at new schools with teachers who are unfamiliar to them, and I just being able to have that so that these teachers are able to get to know the new kids who are coming into their building, I think is really critical.
Yeah, and I'll just add there, one of the features that we can have in the platform is having like a school history that's turned on for a student so you can easily see where they've been across our system.
This is significant. I think there have been a lot of decisions we've been faced with over the last few years that would have benefited from that little more granular level of information. So this is extremely valuable. Mr. Zenobia?
Yeah, I mean, how long have we been implementing this or playing with this? Have we seen some of I know we've gotten a lot of great data presentations, and for me as a board member, being here for a little while, it was hard to see that from some of the data that we got from DPI in the past, and trying to understand that filtered through your lens, then reported to us what was really important, and trying to see what was really going on in our district, not in real time, but at least every year, semester. So, and to the credit of all of you, our presentations, especially around like KPIs, for instance, has just gotten better, and I'm understanding it better for sure. And so I'm assuming this will continue to make that easier. But yeah, as far as board access goes, I guess that would be my question as to, and you kind of already answered that, but being able to see some of that if needed. So.
Yeah, one of the things, the features that we have in here, so one of the things I just built was one of our like KPI dashboards. So you do have a lot of accessibility to build some of the things that you're wanting to see in NextPath, which is amazing, right? Because I could easily build like a KPI dashboard that we can see, and then we can share it with specific groups that would need that information. So again, this data tool allows us some of that flexibility to create some of those things. And then again, right, I know the question was asked before, like how do we know if some of our programs or our curriculum are working? So we can build some of these things to easily pull that data and then look through to analyze whether or not our students are responding.
I would speak to also, we love sharing the data and presenting that to you, but there's a lot of manual work that goes on behind the scenes. We talk about our disproportionality, and Jamie has spent hours manually calculating that for schools. And to see things in tools and to have tools that can do that, then we can focus our efforts on supporting teachers to support students, to get the students what they need. So quickly get the data, understand it, and then act upon it for everyone in our district. So we are excited. As Jamie said, she's still building everything. And, you know, we're just starting to share some of this. So we're still learning, but we are excited that it will come and hopefully reduce some manual data work.
Mrs. Koenig.
Thank you. Again, I'm just giddy listening to all of these wonderful things that our teachers are going to be able to access very quickly. I remember many years not getting to the data until mid to late fall from the previous year, and then trying to sit down after 2 months have gone by and having to learn, you know, boots on the ground about your students. And for next year especially, this is going to be quite a game changer because, you know, there are going to be new faces and new information, and to have this so available to our teachers and, you know, with less work for, you know, our administrative teams and our coaches and stuff. This is just, it's just so exciting. This is really great. Thank you for all your hard work.
So if I understand the utility of this tool correctly, maybe as an example, so I mean, you all went to a pretty significant effort over the last couple of years to have test scores associated with student records in Infinite Campus so that parents can go in and see those test scores. But those are essentially, but we're able to download that testing report, that PDF document. But we would be limited as a district in saying these forward exam scores, these ACT scores may be further refined by what math pathway the student took, whether what AP courses potentially that they took, or whether they had an additional transition in an elementary level. So if I understand the cohorting or the flagging that we can do, that information then is available to us as a district, to the classroom instructors and the building administrators at that more granular level so that we can do the analysis to really understand the effects that are leading to those outcomes.
Yeah, correct. So one of the things that we're able to pull in NextPath is we can look at cohorts, and which is really exciting. And again, right, some of that in the past has required a lot of manual trying to figure out, okay, this and this. But yes, we definitely can pull that in a more easily accessible manner using this data tool. So like I said, we're still learning all the different features, but it is definitely exciting as far as like what doors have opened using this tool.
Well, this is very exciting, and I'm guessing you'll hear from Mrs. Kozlowski later. I probably speak for others as well as the rest of the board, but I think when you're ready, some opportunity to do some hands-on demonstration or to sit with you and kind of see what resources you have available, I think that would be really beneficial too. So
Yeah, that'd be great.
great forward movement, so really exciting.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any recommendations for future meetings? I do have one that Mr. Harlan shared with me earlier, and that is, he's requested that this committee walk through the civics component, just so that we can review what our high schoolers are doing in terms of timing and preparation for the civics exam. So I think it's good timing to do that since that's happening. Anything else? Okay, well, that adjourns our meeting for tonight. Our next meeting is back here in the boardroom on Tuesday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. Thanks, everybody.